Chapman?
Yeah. Can you guys
Yep.
hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
we
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Hello?
Okay, let me see. Chapman, can you hear us?
So, yeah.
Chapman,
Okay.
can you hear
I
me?
can hear
You're
you.
good?
Uh,
Yes,
so,
I can hear you.
would you like to go over the magazine advertisement? Uh,
Yeah. Matthew, if you could share your screen.
okay.
Which is not in the actual the copy I got. That's not in there. The magazine part is not in there yet.
Oh, it's in there. It's in there. He has it.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What
It's
page?
it's the first
Uh,
page. There's just like a
uh,
link.
there's
Okay.
a,
Oh, magazine. There it is. Yep.
a link that, that
Yeah.
I
It's still. I need access to that though. Still, I can't access it yet.
put into the doc, and it leads to a different document.
Okay. And by the way, Matthews, so you logged the last weeks, but you weren't able to put in the former 2 weeks. You can give
Get
me those
public.
numbers so I can fill it in from the back end because you kind of have to do it like weekly.
Okay. So you would like me to put in the numbers for the last 2 weeks, like individually?
Yeah. Did you was the May 11th that was like just for that week or was that for all the other weeks?
The May 11th.
Yeah.
That was for the weeks
Because that was
after
40 hours there.
the yeah, after the what's it called? The prioritization matrix. So we estimate about like 20 hours a week combined for all of us.
Okay. So does that cover it? Seems like there's because there was like an 80 on April 20 and
Yeah, the
then
the 80 is basically all the weeks prior to the including the prior and including the prioritization matrix.
oh, okay,
And
okay. So we should be pretty good on in terms of the total times then.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's in the total time. Yeah.
okay, okay. That sounds good.
Chapman, did you share it with them?
I sent a link.
Yep.
I sent a link into the chat, and link
Okay, I got it.
sharing is open.
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect, perfect. So we start off. Of course, the effectiveness of these advertisements would come from the ad design, the the magazine of choice, considering its reach, its the amount of people they can reach, of course, and I guess how many people would look at the magazine. Of course, there's variability in that, and the budget. You did mention you wanted to keep this as low budget as possible. So this is a list of all the top magazines I found related to electronics or some sort of open source building tools platform or magazine platform.
Yep.
Um, can you guys hear me?
Yep. We can hear you. Yeah, that's yep.
Um, in terms of the ad design, I don't know if you have an in-house person, a designer making designs for you for magazines,
Not yet. Haven't really done like
um,
designs for magazines.
but there are some websites such as Upwork where you can hire a freelance.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I'd say the most traditional, most popular route would be to use Upwork to find some sort of detail and skill you want to put into the design. Um, the average is about $45. And of course, they did mention the better the ad design, the more effective the ad would be. But knowing that these magazines feature a lot of technical products or types of images, as long as the design, I guess, matches the appearance or look that already exists on the magazines, then that would be a pretty good design already.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then below, of course, all the contacts information page and some points of contact in case you want to reach out to someone directly. And that was basically, hello?
Yeah, Chapman. Uh, didn't hear you for that. If you were speaking right now,
Okay.
sounds like Chapman's having some internet
Okay.
issues.
Names, contact, advertisement page, information.
um, yeah, Chapman, do you have any internet issues? Um,
Hello?
yeah, you seem to be cutting off.
Maybe we want to
Um,
close our video in case that does any better.
okay. Um, I think just the last remark, if I could get it in.
Yep,
Yeah, me better.
that sounds like it.
Okay. Just the last note is okay. You can navigate through this page to see which magazines you would want to reach for each magazine, but
Yeah.
some of these pages, I think, a number, and they can provide you costs. Other types of advertisers that have wanted advertiser information you would want, I feel like they could answer. Some pages provide a lot of information with answers to some of these questions already, but a lot of other magazines, they seem like good magazines, but they don't provide any on their page.
Yep. Yeah, it's some good magazines there. Mm-hmm. And they probably have a lot of these have
Do you have any questions?
online versions too, right? These are, I guess.
Yes, all of these magazines I found, all they have online versions.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And what's this, like? Let's see how to how to
And
leverage this. Like, it's feasible. We can get content writers to just we have a bunch of available resources that is scattered throughout everywhere. So I guess one possible strategy would be to get some people who are content writers who write the content, possibly some people from our community, and submit. This is like basically creating like a media package on this, which could be sent out to the multiple magazines. So that could be good.
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
definitely some sort of centralized template of like information that you could pitch to a bunch of magazines at once, um, with a certain type of message you want to convey that would convince them to cooperate or collaborate on
Yep.
the magazines with.
Yep.
And that would be it so far. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. So, and we don't have any too much information here on the cost of a campaign here, and kind of like the returns. We have to kind of play it by ear. Like, what's the best way? Like, if
Yeah,
we wanted to get some quantitative analysis of this, like how, any insights on that? And how
I
we'd
think
calculate that?
the best way would be to this would be kind of involved in terms of time, but
Mm-hmm.
editors or chief of advertisements and ask for their price, um, and then I guess kind of track down which price would be the best, considering reach as well. And I'd guess you would put some sort of dollar to audience type of ratio to see which would be the best, and decide from there if you want to
Yeah,
commit
and maybe like
to this, and then
the strategy could be dual. Like, for example, if they also
you
think that we have interesting content that
put your
they
ad
might.
into that magazine.
Oh, sorry, we're talking over each other. Um, what I'm saying here is we can also try. Okay, so we can. What do you think about a strategy where we're inquiring for advertising, but at the same time we're inquiring like, but otherwise, would you, since we have some interesting content you might be interested in, would you like to report on us anyway, like outside of the paid advertising? That can we just send out a request like that whether they suggest we should be reported upon or actually advertise, and kind of like try to hit two birds with one stone? Or that wouldn't be a good use of
Definitely.
our time?
They provide some. That would actually be a great idea, considering they they provide boxes where you could provide what exactly you would need, and considering that they like content, I feel like OSC has great content that they could share onto these magazine sites, and you could kill two birds with one stone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's doable. If we could do, like, one thing I could see myself doing is something like a more in-depth report about some recent progress, or like something related to the COVID scene with respect to our collaborative design for solutions and things like that, or having more resilient communities, some kind of a publication, more like an article, and then I could get into something that could be general interest enough that actually could be sent to many of these outlets. Yeah, I think there's
Yeah,
possibility
definitely.
there. Mm-hmm.
There's This is perfect. There's the option of course, paying for advertisements, but of course also pitching your ideas to be part of regular content onto the site.
Yeah.
And on almost all of these magazine websites, they have the option.
Hello, Chapman.
Yeah, I can't hear
Um,
Chapman.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Hello. Okay. Did you hear? So,
We didn't hear the last minute.
requesting to. Okay. So on each magazine site, you have the option of either advertising through paid form or just posting your own content onto the OS. So that could be a good, I guess, option
Yeah.
if you don't want to consider paid advertisements.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think the best thing to do right now, maybe we can on to other branches and then go back to Chapman's,
Yeah.
just for the sake of time.
Okay. Let's keep going.
All right. So next we have Josh with the podcast guest appearances.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yep, we can.
Okay, perfect. So I looked into podcast guest appearances this week and just kind of the implementation, and we saw it's pretty straightforward and very low cost. It's just kind of like the cost is more on the time side instead of the
Mm-hmm.
monetary side. So kind of just going through the implementation step by step. The first step you want to do is just find podcasts that you want to target that fits within OSC's market. So kind of just like a list here of things you want to find, which is like podcast name, the website maybe, the host name, and the email address. And the email address is actually like probably one of the biggest parts. And also I attached a link here. It's to like Matchmaker. It's
Yeah.
this website I found that it actually allows you to kind of make a profile for yourself, and it'll match you with podcasts that they think match your topic that you want to discuss.
Yeah.
So that's one way you could go. We kind of thought that it might be better for you to actually target them yourselves, as you can kind of like directly see what fits your market instead of like a website kind of just pairing you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did a little research on to see how hard it was to find emails, and here's some like two podcasts here, like how I built that with Guy Raz and Startup.
Mm-hmm.
And finding their emails is pretty easy. You just kind of look up the podcast and you would type in like how I built that email, and it would bring you to Guy Raz's personal page, and you immediately find their email address. So I think that's probably the most difficult part within the implementation plan, but it's also fairly simple. So
Mm-hmm. Finding the contact information.
yeah, finding the contact information, especially if you wanted to find more niche podcasts that aren't like by NPR or like by that aren't like extremely big, it could be a little bit harder. But there's a step a little bit lower that we'll go over that kind of goes into how to find emails if you cannot find it. But
Yeah.
step 2 here would be construct a good pitch for your email. So looking online onto reading about a lot of other podcast hosts and what they've experienced personally from people reaching out to them, they mainly agree on these 3 points: to include a little bit about yourself, and then how your company or your brand can improve a problem that many of the podcast listeners have, and then also to provide an unconventional opinion that you may have that may counter a viewpoint within the podcast market. So that could be something like OSC is open source, and maybe a lot of the listeners haven't really heard of open source. So just that opinion and like that viewpoint can be something very interesting that can be brought to the podcast. So like you really want to emphasize these when writing your pitch so that it kind of just proves more of OSC's value to be added as a guest appearance on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then finally, for all these points that you write about, you want to be able to talk about it for 20-30 minutes if you're to go onto the podcast. I feel like that's definitely not an issue, especially if you're to go on yourself. There's like
Yeah.
a lot, obviously, about OSC and you can talk about. And then step 3 here is locate the host email. So there's just some ways here that you can look into finding them, such as, like I said, going on the page of the show or locating the host website, personal webpage. Also, if a lot of podcasts have newsletters, you can look for the reply to address on the newsletter. And if all else fails, there's online websites to find emails. So there's Hunter and Any Mail Finder, and they're kind of, I've never personally used them, but I've heard that it's like you have to type in the company that they work for and then like their name, and they'll try and find the email for you. But that's kind of a long process. And honestly, for finding emails, I wouldn't recommend spending more than 10 minutes just trying to find one place's email, obviously. And step 4 is to send the email. So I found an example template from Podcast Motor, which is like a website that combines a lot of opinions and just kind of like a blog of podcast hosts. And this is kind of a template that they offered on what they kind of see. So it's just like pretty simple, just like you intro with how you're interested in the podcast and then what you do and how it can benefit the podcast. And then you give like your 3 topics as mentioned above, and then you kind of just conclude it and see if they can reply back. So that part's pretty simple. You can probably use the template over and over for podcasts besides like the beginning part, just related to the podcast you're targeting. Step 5, this is probably the most important part, is to follow up. So a lot of podcasts may not respond, or if they do respond, obviously, hopefully they accept your guest appearance and you can make that appearance. But if not, it's important to follow up and maybe send an email that consists of other assets that you have that can promote OSE, such as like the TED Talk or showing old links to other podcasts you've been on, or social medias that can kind of increase credibility toward the podcast host to maybe want to have you on. And then step 6 is just make the guest appearance. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Obviously, you've done a lot of speaking appearances, so it's pretty, I'm sure you're more experienced in all this than we are, so that's pretty straightforward as well.
Yeah, that would be definitely a good good avenue. I mean, I enjoyed talking about the work, so yeah, definitely wouldn't be any stress on our part.
Yeah, I definitely think this implementation plan is pretty how do you say? It's like designed well for OSE, and like it fits within what you do.
Yeah.
As well as pretty low cost monetary wise, and it's more just if you have time to send the emails and look them up and all that, that's kind of the biggest part.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, it's like as far as the investment of time, it's like I say, it's an hour podcast, so it would be an hour of my time for each one of these. If there's like at least 1,000 listeners, that's like.
Yeah, it's just free brand awareness in the end of it.
Yep.
So yeah, any questions on kind of the overall plan?
I think that's pretty straightforward. That's pretty good.
Right. Sounds good.
All right. Then I'll be covering the YouTube next then.
Okay.
We noticed, so last week you said you're interested in more collaboration based marketing, and with YouTube there's 2 approaches. The first is the promotion, so YouTube influencers can talk about OSC or recommend Steam cams to their subscribers, and that's more of the advertisement route. And the more collaborative route would be like a YouTube collaboration. The thing is, so one is the promotion is more monetary intensive, capital intensive, because you'll be paying content creators to be promoting your OSC and the Steam cams. And this is it's not really, content creators don't see this as a sort of one-way deal where they promote it once and get one sum of get a payment or something. They would like to pursue more like long-term relationships with their partners, and they usually would be compensated by a lump sum for the promotion rather than just commission. So, and the reason is that it's very difficult to measure ROI for the promotions, simply because the YouTube promotion only takes up only one part of the customer journey. So customers or potential leads, they experience OSC in many ways. Maybe YouTube will be the avenue where they decide to make a purchase or do a conversion, or it could just be an influencing factor and be compounded with like social media and podcasts and things like that, where all that aggregately leads to them, for example, attending a Steam camp or going to a conference. So that's why these creators or content creators, as they like to call themselves as well, they see themselves as ambassadors, and that their promotions are more geared towards generating awareness rather than just sales. Some would do sales, like if they do like a like product marketing, like product reviews, that can be more towards sales, but most would be more towards just creating general awareness of their partner. So one thing that creators really prefer is for their clients to be transparent and understanding. And that this is the main thing that influencers or creators take into account when determining partnerships or uh, whether they would like to partner with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And they prefer long-term relationships and partnerships rather than just a quick buck sort of deal. And they're aware of their content and the audience they appeal to. So, therefore, before OSC would contact these YouTube channels, they would OSC would need to do some research on them, like what content do they make, and
Mm-hmm.
what type of people would they, what type of audience do they attract.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that is basically the two main key factors when looking into doing the research and deciding which YouTube channels to partner with. And so that covers the first part of the implementation of this recommendation, and the second one would be contact the creator and negotiate. So use a similar template to what Josh has provided in the podcasts above when he talked about that, and be upfront with with the creator and make known the goals and expectations right out of the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And keep costs in mind, but also keep in mind that there's a lot of risk and costs that the creators take when partnering with OSC, because they don't want to they would not want to seem like they are partnering or trying to sell something to their audience, because that would drive away views. So it'd be more like it would be the way that the promotion would um, be implemented within the videos would be up to the creator, and just like understand that they're taking a lot of risks in partnerships sometimes, and that way the cost won't be too shouldn't be too high, but shouldn't be too low, or they would not accept the partnership. And then talk about what you envision the promotion to look like, but be flexible on how the promotion will pan out. So, for example, a lot of companies are business to consumer companies that might offer consumer products. So um, if a channel does tech reviews, and they can review their product, for example, so that would fit very well with with that content creator's channel. So just like thinking about like how can OSC promotion can be implemented in the videos, and that would involve you watching some videos and seeing what type of videos do they make, and
Mm-hmm.
where does the promotion fit in there. And third is the most difficult part, is to track the promotion, because because inherently it's very difficult to calculate ROI for YouTube promotions. So there are different ways to track effectiveness. So there's first is to create a custom link that you will provide to the content creator, and and that they will share in their video. And basically, this is what you can do this through Google, where they make a custom link that can redirect to the OSC website or different pages in the OFC website, like the Steam Camp page, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And click on the link. That's the steps from Google to implement that. Um, and then there's video views, video saves, so how many people are saving the video, video shares, so how many people are sharing that with their friends or family, and then
Mm-hmm.
custom discount codes. If you're selling something, you can provide the content creator with a discount code where any user that person that
Yeah.
applies the code, then you'll know that's caused the from the YouTube promotion.
Yeah.
That's just a couple of different ways of tracking the uh, tracking the ROI for this. We recommend, since we talked about generating brand awareness or social awareness, the best ones would probably be like the video views and the custom link um, ways of tracking ROI, just to see, if people are visiting OSC's websites directly based on the promotion, and how many people are being exposed to, this to the message. So those are just what we recommend as like um, ways to track the ROI for this.
So, for
And
example, if you have custom discount codes, can you implement that through the Google short link?
the what is that? The Google.
So there's the tracking part with the Google short link. How do we use that to, like, with respect to discount codes? So we would know, for example, where this particular person came from, and therefore we can attribute, oh, they're going to get the discount,
Oh, so those are two separate
or separate
separate
things.
ways. The links, you would make a custom link for every YouTube promotion, not every YouTube promotion, but every channel that promotes you, and then so you can use Google Analytics to see, how much traffic came from each custom link. So you would know, this content creator brought in this many website clicks or views. And the discount codes is separate. Like if you're trying to sell something or get people to, for example, maybe attend Steam camps or things like that, or buy merchandise, then it's just like a discount code. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
okay,
have like
separate thing. Okay.
e-commerce way to do that, but a discount code, and then the the, the content creator would just say apply this discount
Yep.
code. And you just type it in during checkout.
Yeah. Yep. You mentioned Google Analytics right now. Um, what does the custom link provide you? Does it have some advantages over Google Analytics? Or
No, the custom links can be implemented with Google Analytics. So it's just like a tool that Google has
okay,
where you can create like just uh, links that would redirect to some website like the OSC website. So then in Google Analytics you can see that, okay, this custom link brought in, 50 people clicked on this custom link or something, and that would be interpreted as like 50 people
right,
clicked to see the website.
okay,
And you issue these custom links to different content creators so that they can say, oh, click the link in the description, and then people will click on there, and then Google Analytics can count how many people use that link to access OSC's website.
It seems like with the link you sent about how to do that short link, Google short link, it seems like that already in itself has some tracking without Google Analytics? Or do we
Uh,
really always use that with including Google Analytics as well?
let's see.
Because it already has custom link. Like the video views, saves, and shares, does that come through the custom link? Or that's separate?
That's separate.
Oh, that's
So
separate.
that would
Okay.
be information that the content creator will just provide you with based
Okay, okay.
on whatever uh, um, their the analytics part of YouTube that they have access to for information about their videos or their channel. They can get that data for you.
Yep, yep. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I would like to need to look more into sort of if this is separate from Google Analytics. Last time I looked into it, it was incorporated within Google Analytics, but we
Mm-hmm.
can uh, take a deeper dive into that.
Okay.
Before moving on to collaboration, is there any other questions?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, so for collaboration, it's more effective and cost efficient monetarily, but since OSC doesn't have a YouTube channel yet, uh, it'd be more labor intensive just because with the collaboration with another YouTube uh, content creator, um, it would require OSC to have a YouTube channel that already posts quality content and have a significant following of at least 1,000 subscribers. Um, so and the main purpose of collaboration would be bringing people into new people from other YouTube channels to go and check out OSC's YouTube channel. So a lot of ways this would happen would be either the partnership uh, entails making 2 videos with another content creator, and one would go on your channel, one would go on the content creator's channel, and and then so that both subscribers of each channel would be have exposure to the other channel and might check them out. Uh, so in terms of implementation, the first step would be building the YouTube channel, and first we need to focus on fostering the OSC community on YouTube. So perhaps maybe having tutorial videos or a discussion or interviews about makers, the maker community, and open source, or like news and open source developments. So, like you said about like COVID-19 right now, maybe talking about how open source, uh, the open source community is what they're doing to help alleviate the crisis or help other people during this time. Um, and then after that, just to grow the subscriber base. So focus on quality over quantity in terms of videos. So you don't have to make too many, but a couple high quality videos would be better. Um, take into account the viewer's time investment in watching videos. Some viewers are more willing to watch an hour, some maybe 20 minutes. So a sweet spot would be like around 15 to 20 minutes. Um, and then if maybe see if any OSC members have YouTube channels, and maybe they can bring people to uh, OSC's YouTube channel and subscribe through word of mouth, and post the YouTube videos on social media just so those following OSC on social media will be able to know and watch the videos. Second, researching other YouTube channels for a potential collaboration. So this is um, similar to researching other YouTube channels for promotions, but this would also with take into affect the has the creator pursued a collaboration before, and how do you see the collaboration with OSC fitting with the content creators content? So like if that content creator does a lot of interviews, maybe they could interview you about OSC and something like that, or if they do more like making things projects. So maybe you can try showcasing some of your projects with them or building something with them. So that's some ideas for collaboration. And then after you did the research, then just contact the creator. Use similar prompt to the influencer promotions prompt, but also explain how OSC subscribers would like to will like and be attracted to that content creators channel. And then there are apps like Grin that helps creators contact each other to set up collaborations. So if you have difficulty um, different creators that you're interested in partnering with, maybe you can use apps like those. And then lastly, work out the logistics. So how the collaboration will pan out, how many videos will be made, and what are each side's responsibilities. And that would be how to like implement this if you do so choose to.
Yeah. So for the OSC, for my current channel, what about rebranding that as OSC? Like maybe picking out like curating because there's like tons of videos. There everything from like team meetings to quality
Mhm.
videos. We actually have a Vimeo channel that could also potentially serve that purpose. But on YouTube, um, what do you think of rebranding to or curating my channel, which has what like thousands of how many? Let's see, how many do I have? I've got 11,000 subscribers.
Mhm.
Rebrand that for OSC purposes because it kind of is already has the OSC logo on it and stuff like that. But or are you suggesting we just need to create another one?
Uh, you can see. I think you can.
Here's a link
Uh,
if you want to take a look at it in the chat box.
yeah, we can take a look at the channel. If that's the case, then it could be rebranded for OSC. It's just the thing that uh that with the like team meetings that would be maybe made private with your
Yeah.
uh with people in your network in your
Right.
organization maybe because you wouldn't people outside of OSC wouldn't be interested in things like that. But other than that, that could be of interest. We can, look into just like what videos you post in
Mm-hmm.
there and how, if that would appeal to people outside. Um, but the main point is like the videos need to not just appeal to people in OSC, but people who are outside of OSC who who would be interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so but we can I'll take a look at this at the YouTube channel, see like if you have a lot of content that's could be used outside of that, or you can just post a lot of that content just starting from now perhaps, and then rebranding it would be a good thing to do, so you won't have to start from scratch basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So um, any questions before we move on?
No, thank you. That's about it. On that.
Okay. So next we have partnerships with Shelly and Alejandro.
What's up, Marcin? Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Can hear you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, perfect. So this week we focused on developing and researching to develop a criteria on how you should choose the other organizations you partner with, as well as also like an implementation guide. And we also listed uh, two organizations as an example of how it all worked, like the criteria and the implementation. So the first The first criteria is a similar mission statement, and this one seems like pretty obvious criteria. Finding other open source um, organizations that line up with the same values that OSC has. However, it can like the small differences can make a huge impact in the long run if it's like a partner that you're looking for long run compared like an open source organization that's looking to profit compared to how OSC is more looking to teach future business people to open like their own microfactories. Like those small differences could make like huge impact on decisions like further down the line. Second, social impact slash similar target audience. So this is identifying nonprofits and companies that have similar clientele as OSC. And for the nonprofit side, like nonprofits with more established programs that already have like a lot of people coming out yearly or monthly or however long it is, this could increase the OSC exposure and like in the long run just attract more people to the STEAM camps. Um, Third, financial viability. So for nonprofits, this looking to see if they have like good financial revenue and they're not kind of like in a bind because then they probably would not have the resources necessary to maintain a partnership. And for this specifically for the nonprofits, it would be more favorable for OSC to partner with a nonprofit with 501c3 status. And this is basically like there's like is an indication of how trustworthy and how like legitimate they are because if they have this status and they're like legally registered in the US like they're tax exempt and everything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so some nonprofits have it, some don't. So it'd be like if it comes down to it and you're trying to decide between them, it would be better to go with a 501c3 one.
Yeah.
For on the company side, this would just ensure that the open source company that OSC is planning to partner with has like financial means to afford the partnership and like they're as well like they're not in a bind so that they could contribute equally as OSC.
Yep.
And second to last one is engaging in communication slash history of partnerships. So nonprofits and companies that already have a history of partnering with similar organizations would be more favorable because they already have like basically like their own kind of roadmap to follow. So it wouldn't be that much of a headache to deal with like timelines and like other deadlines down the line. And last one is preferred but not required. And this is like the partner identified should have an established social media presence. So there are many good nonprofits that do really good work and they reach out to a lot of people, but they don't have like huge social media presence. And this, when you're trying to decide between two that you only have the resources to partner with one, for example, then you might want to go to one that has a social media presence just because like they could reach out to more people year round. And now Shelly will talk about the implementation plan.
Hi, Marcin.
Hi. Yeah.
So going on to the implementation plan, it really all boils down to like 3 simple steps, like identifying the organizations you want to partner with and narrowing it down, and then reaching out and finally like actually establishing that partnership. So here, like it's what I just explained is like stretched out. And so the first step, like I mentioned, is that OSD would have to come up with a list of all the organizations they want to partner with, whether nonprofit or open source. So moving on from that, next, after narrowing down your list, because we don't believe it's viable to partner with like too many organizations, you begin initiating contact, and the most common method of reaching out is obviously through email. And underneath that, we provided a few like cold emailing tips. You can refer to the example under the podcast implementation for like a fully drawn out template. But these are some additional like basic tips that we believe would be helpful in coming up with an email that's good for partnership. Next, once your contact has been established, begin engaging in exploratory discussions. So this is the stage where OSC and the potential partner would discuss like how they would want to partner. This ranges from speaking engagements, community partnerships, stuff like that that we mentioned before in our recommendation. And then the next two things we have listed aren't really required for the implementation plan specifically, but we believe that these should also be like factored into it. So keep track of everything you guys talk about. Like write it down. It's always good to have like written confirmation of the things discussed. And also, if you do partner with them and after the partnership expires, make sure you still keep in touch with them because there's still a source of like potential. They have like potential people who may be interested in your mission, and they may send them your way. So it's a good idea to keep in touch with the partners even after the partnership has expired.
Yeah.
So that was basically the implementation plan, like condensed. Do you have any questions before we move on to our two examples?
I think that's good. Let's continue.
Okay. Alex?
Yeah, so starting with the nonprofit organization, so this is a nonprofit that I did some research on, and I think that they would align with OSC, and it's the Digital Freedom Foundation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've heard of them before.
Yeah, definitely.
But, yeah. So they're a nonprofit organization that they organize like software, hardware, and like Freedom Day. So basically, like, it's just all about focusing on bringing awareness and the importance of availability for open source software and hardware, and that's like their social impact programs as well. And it's pretty interesting because most of these events are organized by volunteers and not they don't have like on staff that like go and like set up these events. It's more like volunteers just talk about this on chat boards, and then they get together and they just host it, and then they just contact like headquarters, and then headquarters just begins to live stream the event. So it's pretty interesting how it pops up. So depending on where you have volunteers is where the event will happen. And their mission statement is the basic human freedoms you take for granted are only as free as the technologies you use, and we think this aligns perfectly with what OSC is trying to do and arm businessmen with the knowledge to create their own microfactories. And then financial viability, DFF has many notable sponsors such as Google Linode and Linux Journal for Media. So if OSC does decide to partner with them and do something similar to like Hardware Day, where instead of just like the traditional Hardware Day schedule, they also include like a Steam Camp like mini version or a condensed version of that could be like a possible cooperative program that OSC engages with DFF, and you know they could advertise this through like their Linux Journal sponsorship, perhaps. Lastly, DFF has many notable sponsors. Our assumption that they already have like an infrastructure in place to accommodate partnerships. So doing it with them would probably be like less of a hassle, and they would probably already have a roadmap as well. And then I just pulled up some stats on like their social media, such as their Twitter and their Facebook, and notable locations where they've held events before. And they actually hold most of these events overseas. The ones that have been in the U.S. have been in New York and Miami, and the rest have been like in Germany, Spain, and the U.K. Mainly. So this could be like a good opportunity to reach out to them and help them also increase their U.S. presence. And you know this could benefit both sides in the long run.
Yeah.
And yeah, their headquarters are based in Cambodia, but they're registered under the U.S. as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So this was like a contact form that I found to get in touch with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Next up, or do you have any questions before we move on to the open source example?
No, that's good. The the idea there's I think a lot of organizations like that could be potential collaborators. I'm trying to think like how what would be a good angle to approach them with. Not sure about it. I would have to think about it, but something like if there's a conference of some sort, like an event, like before or after the conference, that I've thought about something like that. Like something like a small camp or some build or something, because a lot of these people are software people, so they probably would appreciate also the hardware part.
Yeah, yeah, and I was specifically referring to DFF's Hardware Day because that's when they specifically focus on hardware. Because like how you said, they're primarily like a software nonprofit. But I was or we were kind of getting at the angle where it's
Oh yeah,
OSC would like co-host like a Hardware Day slash Steam Cam Day, and this could help both sides, and OSC attracts more Steam Cam participants, and DFF increases their U.S. presence.
oh yeah, yeah. No, I missed that. Thank you. Yeah, that's. I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't really have context with them. That would be a great thing. A Hardware
Mm-hmm.
Freedom Day. All right. Excellent.
Yeah. So next up, we have an open source example. We briefly mentioned this in one of our previous calls, SparkFun Electronics. They're an online retail site that sells electronic parts, and an interesting aspect is that they also have an educational branch that teaches individuals how to use these electronics through online tutorials and such. So, based on this alone, we can see that their mission in education kind of ties into OSE's
Yeah.
priority. So below the introduction of Sparkman Electronics, we did a quick example of a criteria assessment. So for the mission statement and their values, Spartan explicitly says that they're passionate about electronics, open source, and education. And these are three key points that already align with OSC very well. And that's why we thought that this would be a good company to partner with. Not only that, they also offer educational resources online, and they're all free. They're all on their website. Um, SparkFun also has a similar target audience base. Their customers are mainly like techie people. They buy electronic parts, so that's where we came to that conclusion. And so for the financial viability part, that was hard to determine for this company just because they're a privately held company, so we didn't have any data on like their stock price or anything, but we found that they were founded in 2003 and they have over 150 employees. And so they've been around for a pretty long time. And so we believed that that was credible enough to classify them as like viable for like financial reasons. Next, we have their engagement and communication and their history of partnership status. So SparkFun actually has a community partnership program, and as mentioned in a call before, they did this SparkFun and Raft partnership where they offered electronics to like this educational institution, and it was a whole thing. So that was like a really good sign that they've already partnered with others before, and they have this whole program dedicated for partnerships. And lastly, although it's not like required, we mentioned it briefly during the criteria list. We looked at the social media presence of SparkFun, and they seem to be doing really well across like these four listed social media platforms. On average, they have about like 80, 90,000 followers on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, stuff like that. On LinkedIn, they have 11,000 followers, nearly 12,000. And that's like another great source if you want to reach like professionals in the tech market specifically. So this just comes to show that they're established and a lot of people trust them. So that's why we thought SparkFun would be like a good starting point, if
Definitely.
anything.
Looking at their partnerships page, they have distributors, donation sponsorship, volume pricing, build a custom kit. Did you look into into that in any more detail? Because, like, for example, collaborative marketing we can, for example, do something like, yeah, become a distributor or reseller, but maybe they can do the twist of collaborative where we feature each other's products. I don't know. That would be something to take up with them as a discussion.
Yeah, that's a great point. The terms of partnership are kind of hard to determine because that really comes down to like after you've gotten into contact with the organization. And we do think that collaborative marketing is like a really viable course to take with SparkFun. Interestingly, their founder also has a TED Talk. So
Yep.
like collaborative marketing can even go onto that where you two like go to a speaking engagement event together or something. But this can't really determine because again, it really comes back down into the terms of partnership that you would have to talk out with the potential partner.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I
Do you have
think
any more questions, Marcin?
No, I think that's good. That's good for now. Mm-hmm.
yes. So if you don't have any questions for this branch, I think that concludes this branch in general.
Yeah, I think that's good. So regarding the partnerships, uh, one thought that came up is how do we integrate a few of the elements like partnerships slash collaborative marketing? Approach it from the perspective of a partnership. I mean, what is the overlap of partnerships with collaborative marketing? I mean, wonder if
The
anybody
the
anybody
overlap
does that.
here is, or like the distinction is that some organizations don't have like a really big online presence, so then collaborative marketing in that way wouldn't really be viable.
Right. Yeah.
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 So it
Okay.
kind of just comes down to, it depends on which type of organization you're reaching out to and whether or not they already have those established networks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going off of that, sorry, just to quickly put in, we think that collaborative marketing is kind of like a sub branch of partnerships. It's one way you can go through for your partnership, but really partnership is so broad. There's so many ways to go about it, and collaborative marketing is just one aspect of it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Okay. Chapman, would you like to continue with the magazines?
Yeah. Hopefully my connection's better now. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. I went through the whole document basically. Do you have any questions? We mentioned, of course, a dual type of approach to this where you can advertise or share content regarding OSC onto these magazine sites. And also
Right.
pitching whatever you have to say into any of these request box on these websites or through contacts, either through email or phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how exhaustive do you think, like, what you've come up with so far? I mean, is that, would you say that that's a exhaustive list or just the beginning or somewhere in
This
between?
is pretty exhaustive, I would say. Um, I looked into a lot of other sites, but they don't have a formal um, website on, or if they
Mm-hmm.
do, it's just print media. That would be only accessed through finding their number online. But these are all the main ones with a good reach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were the once again the keywords you looked for?
Um, I typed in magazines, hardware magazines, electronics magazines. I searched in like things related to Steam camps, but a lot of the magazines um, didn't really show up. It's more of you have to put in like electronics or mechanical engineering or um, hardware, some sort of word that actually doesn't relate to camp. Because once you put the word camp in, it just leads you to actual camp websites.
Uh huh.
Yeah, and
I
um,
think there would be like a bunch that would be found under like STEAM education, right? The whole world of education. There's
yeah,
probably stuff there.
I searched in education.
Chapman, can you hear us?
Yeah, Chapman cut out.
Hello.
Yeah,
I can hear
Chapman.
you
Yeah,
now.
now we can hear you.
Okay. Um, I searched education as well, but these magazines were not really for collaborative content sharing or advertise. They didn't have advertisement space, so I don't think they would have worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe we can see if there's any more magazines like distributive manufacturing magazines, something like that.
Uh,
Yeah.
hmm.
I think in terms of tool websites, electronics websites, farm tools websites, this is exhaustive. But if you also want to go into, like Matthew said, distributed manufacturing, there could be some.
Mm-hmm. Just
Yeah.
googling real quick, like STEM magazine or,
Yeah. I also searched up STEM magazines.
but they don't advertise in there.
Um, the sites I clicked led me to STEM websites instead of actual magazine sites or places where you could advertise with them.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I searched in 3D printer magazines, and some websites popped up for that too.
yeah.
Do you have any specific keywords you would also like me to look into?
Um, there's, yeah. I mean, I could send you a bunch. Um, that yeah, I think that we mentioned in some of the other meetings. Yeah, I can get you a bunch of keywords. I think.
Okay.
Let's see. So yeah, yeah, I'll do that.
So the main course of action would be to reach out to these magazines and see if um, their type of terms of agreement in terms of advertising or sharing content would match your constraints.
Yeah. Do we? how much effort should we be putting into that? Do we have a good idea? Like, what's as far as the remainder of the time we have to contribute to the project? What do you guys see as what is the workflow? There's going to be how much time do we have left?
If you are going to pursue all the other branches or recommendations, this branch would involve, I'd say for each magazine, 30 minutes to an hour.
As far as the bigger picture schedule, there's the final presentation. When is that? When is that on the schedule?
The final presentation, let's see, May 29th. So May 22nd is our next update call.
Mm-hmm.
May 29th would be the final presentation. And then we will provide you with like our final report in the week after that.
I see. So regarding all the different branches that we were working on, do we want to like go back to that list and kind of like review which is the main priorities, or like so far that we know?
Yeah, so uh next week, so we will finish just like having all these update reports. So next week after that, after like going through the update report and stuff like that, we will have like a sort of this overview of like where does each branch kind of fit within the overall strategy. So have a high level idea of how all these branches would interact with each other, and like what are the costs uh
Mm-hmm.
each of them, just so we know, okay, maybe this branch isn't feasible, so we'll include it as like an auxiliary recommendation. We won't do any more research on that for the final presentation and final report. And then the other ones we will do a little bit more just to refine it.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
I think in the coming 2 weeks, we will bring you numbers of the amount of time it takes to implement each of these branches, and also gauge which one would be most beneficial to do first.
yeah. Yep. Okay. I put in the keywords, by the way, into the chat box. So some of the keywords that we have gathered.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see. So what are the for next week? What are the main branches we are considering that are on the plate?
The main branches left would be the high school and post-secondary school partnerships, Facebook, SEO, and I believe that's it. Chapman, is that correct?
Yes.
So we'll have like a sort of update report like this week for those branches, and then after that we can talk about. We'll have like sort of just laying out, where does each of these branches fit in the overall strategy, and what would be the cost, both monetarily and labor wise, just to see which one would be, if any of, if which ones would be more feasible or should we look into more for the final report, and to give you a high level idea of connecting the dots between all our recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. So all the things, like I'm looking at the everything that we kind of talked about. So there's podcasts, there's SEO, online courses, social media, strategic partnerships. There's YouTube. That's in social media.
Right.
Do we want to be like at this point? Wait, which ones are outstanding that are not we haven't touched yet? There's I think Facebook is one. We covered some on
Yeah.
the SEO, right?
Uh,
Yes.
we covered some of it. For implementation wise, we have it like
Mm-hmm.
post uh, prioritization matrix. Um, we haven't covered that. We have yet to cover like the Facebook recommendation,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe that's it
Yeah.
in terms of things outstanding.
Okay. So Facebook definitely, it sounds like SEO implementation. So Facebook and SEO, and
That's correct.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then we're asking how much effort we should put into the like identifying more media outlets. Is that a question? Like, or because we have enough people to do that work, or
Um, so can you explain what the question is again?
yeah, I'm asking with like for next week, what's the suggested division of labor for the topics? So we know we got like SEO implementation, Facebook, and what else are on the table?
Uh, oh, for so the how, when we like sort of create like an overview of everything in terms of costs and labor. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm just asking. Yeah, what are the points of research for? What are you guys researching for next week? What's the current plan
Yeah,
we
so
have?
next week we'll look into both to just like our implementation in uh the outstanding branches. So the post-secondary, the high school partnerships,
Oh.
the Facebook
Mm-hmm.
and SEO recommendations.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
That we will have a sort of just like a charting out
Mm-hmm.
all like looking at all our recommendations we made so far and seeing where do they fit in the overall strategy,
Yeah.
just so we can connect the dots and create like a sort of unified strategy instead of eight different strategies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then uh, what would be the cost and in terms of both capital and labor
Yep.
to implement these different branches that would fit within the overall strategy because the idea for all of this, all the branches, is to sort of create like a customer journey. So a customer or someone who's a potential client would, from all the way from brand awareness to to the conversion, which is signing up for a Steam camp. So where do
Yeah.
all of these branches would fit in getting that client, that lead from that potential client from just being aware of OSC to signing up for a Steam camp, basically. So that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So like all of these, while all these branches have their own sort of implementation and recommendations, um, the what we would be doing for just briefly next week and for the final presentation report is just to connect these all into a unified strategy so that these aren't just eight different strategies, one
Yeah.
big strategy that that would be sort of like uh, a plan to acquire new Steam Camp participants.
Yeah. So yeah, basically an integrated approach because we have only so much energy we can put into this. So yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So then the main purpose for next week when we just like present you with that information is for you to just tell us like which branches do you think would be feasible in like the current state of
Mm-hmm.
OSC,
Yeah.
because then we will do a little bit more research and refining those implementation plans for the final report, final presentation, and the rest will just go on to be auxiliary recommendations. So if OSC has the more capacity in the near
Mm-hmm.
future to employ these recommendations, then you have that in the auxiliary recommendations to guide you.
Yeah, that sounds good. So tomorrow we're gonna cover. I'm sorry. So for next week we're going over the outstanding branches, and then it's about integrating everything. Like we'll be covering like, okay, how do we integrate everything? That discussion will take place next week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a good deal because we went over a lot into detail on each of the branches. So yeah, to put it all together, I think that sounds about right. Makes sense. Make more sense out of everything.
Hopefully by the end of next week, all of us have some sort of idea of what you should pursue and in what timeline, how many hours you'd have to put in, and the cost.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that sounds like a plan.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Sounds good. Uh, as always, we have Friday call 2:30,
Mm-hmm.
and let us know if you have any questions or if you have anything you would like us to look into or any changes in plans.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to accommodate.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. That sounds good.
All right, perfect. Any questions before we conclude this call? Any
Um,
concerns?
I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think we're good for now.
Okay, that's excellent. All right, then we'll see you on Friday, next Friday.
Okay. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much. I'll talk to you Friday.
Thank you,
Okay,
Marcin.
sounds good.
Hey, Marcin.
Okay. Take care. Bye bye.